right, everyone, welcome back to Automotive Anatomy on Offset Conversation, episode number 2. And today's topic will be by Mayhem 559. His question is, your opinion on the best first car for a 17-year-old? I've heard everything from a brand new Ford Fiesta to an 80s Pontiac Trans Am. I'm curious as to what your opinion is. Thank you for your question. Well, 17-year-old. There's so many different levels and different things that we need to take into consideration. So let's start with the way I would want to approach this. Number one, good job. You're 17. You're about to start getting into the car world. A drug addiction is probably cheaper than this, but obviously don't do that. Focus on cars. That said, let's start with budgeting. A 17-year-old depends on if you have support from parents who can give you money or you're working individually to have your own car. Now, I don't think there's necessarily anything right or wrong with either route. If your parents have been able to successful to help you out, cool, by all means, congratulations. If you're like myself that kind of had a little bit of help from my mom and from my brother, and then money from my own, then cool, congratulations. Now, if you've had to buy the car all by yourself and your hard work, then congratulations to you too. It's gonna be about budgeting. I feel that as a 17-year-old, you need to quickly realize that you cannot compare yourself to, like, let's say Mike Tank. By the way, thank you, Mike, for the beautiful poster of Tank. But when you see a build like Mike, which is completely done, that's Mike over a period of 10 plus years. You're just starting. Whatever your budget is, you're starting. What I do want to say, and we're definitely going to be getting in the topic of high-end and low-end parts and things like that. That's another question that I have from one of you guys, is take your time. I would say start with the okay budget. Even as a 17-year-old, if you can afford a brand new car, I wouldn't, just because then all your expectations are very high, and anything below that is going to kind of keep you in the sense of like, oh man, this is not as good as my very first car. For me, you have to understand that a Honda, a Nissan, Toyota are just super reliable. Now, are they going to break? Sure. That's not what we're discussing here though. I would take those over, like I think you mentioned, an 80s Pontiac Grand Am or Trans Am. You said, I don't know how the parts would be, how easy to work on them. I do know Honda Civics are like very simple, and it just brings me to the tools. Do you have the space? Do you have the tools to be able to tinker with these cars? At 17 years old, or for whatever reason you're trying to use it for, you quickly realize, and I realized this firsthand, is if you try to do your daily as a project, it's eventually gonna run into some issues. Even just lowering it, the camber is definitely gonna wear out the tires. I got so many flat tires throughout my time, and although the car looks awesome, rolling slam, there's consequences to that. So I think my very first car suggestion for somebody would be something that you're gonna have to do some work to it. Whether it is a Honda Accord, Honda Civic, or a Toyota Camry, that'd be wonderful. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the cars that you want to modify, I'm assuming. I would love a 1986 Corolla hatchback. Is that a first car? It's an old car, but we know that wouldn't necessarily be the most practical car. I think another thing you have to consider is the aftermarket support, if that's what you're going, and I'm assuming that's what you're going for, right? You want the Civics, there's parts day and night. You can build a Civic from very budget, and I say budget again because that's what kind of we're going for. A budget build, good suspension, good parts and things like that for a reasonable price. Especially with OfferUp and Craigslist and people constantly parting their cars out, you definitely have places where you can find them. Specific models, because like the Civic EFs, good luck. You can buy one for like $2,000, but to find parts that you actually want to modify, people like Gene, Brandon, and other builders are hoarding everything. Good luck finding those parts. But I would say look into something that is gas efficient. You could go get a V8 killer. Actually, Armando, one of my buddies, when we were discussing what kind of car he should get, I would always tell him, dude, get an Accord, 2-door, 95, fifth gen. I have extra suspension. I'll give it to you for free. I got some headlights. I'll give it to you for free. And for a while, he ended up getting a 7 Series, 2000 BMW 7 Series. I was like, are you insane? Not only it was a V12, I didn't know that. It's a 12-cylinder. It's a BMW. Like, you're crazy, man. Like, that's the worst car you could have gotten as a very first car. And I think he was like 17 at the same time. It's like, I would just get ready to, the car's gonna break down. That car was solid for him. Solid. And every time I would ask him, like, hey, how's the car? Dude, it's running. I'm like, what? So the car's solid. So yes, I would love to say that Hondas are not gonna break, but realistically, they may break, especially with people who don't take care of them and they just, they just use them and bash on them and then they get rid of it. So that's just kind of the premises that I did. When I was looking for a car, I wanted something that I know I could work on, something that parts were cheap to replace. The junkyard, I can find Honda's Accords day and night. And for you, it would just determine, the determining factors is how much are you willing to spend. If you're willing to spend up to $3,500 and then from $3,500 to $5,500, those are two different worlds, different type of cars that you want to get. Remember, you can get luxury cars like those BMWs and some other brands for very cheap, and the reason is because of the maintenance. Somebody had already used that safe timeline, I guess you would say, where the car is working fine, tip-top shape, and then they're going to start seeing some problems. That's when they get rid of it, because cars do get devalued very much, especially the luxury cars like BMW and Lexus. I think holds their value pretty good, but that's just something that I would also look into. Now, let's say if you really want a car that you can modify and it's Euro, then the 3 Series BMWs are definitely one of the best bang for their buck. Honda world, Civic, Accord, you can practically find everything for the 6th gen Civics. Some trucks, if you're into trucks, I guess you can look into some trucks, but just dialing the suspension with the trucks is much different than just a car and coilover, so that also has to take into consideration. And lastly, you're gonna get a car that you're gonna be surrounding yourself with the most. So if you have buddies who introduce you into the Nissan 240 world, the Nissan 240 world it's a cool world, but man, the running joke is that the car is never running and that it's not one color. So get ready for that. But at the same time, it's about the friendships that you create. For me, I found that the Honda community has been super supportive. Hence, the channel has reached this amount of success that I didn't even imagine. And thanks to you guys, is that we're at where we're at because of the Honda community. I think part of the reason is a lot of people don't want to buy a Honda because of the stigma. Oh, you're driving a cheap car. Oh, you're driving a quote unquote rice bucket. And we're gonna get into another topic, another episode about ricers and things like that. But ultimately, drive something that you like. Don't expect it to be your dream car, because I do believe that there is some pride of driving something a little older and working and building up. For me, it was a 95 Accord. It gave me no issues for the first couple of years, and then after that it was issue after issue. And again, that's what I'm saying, just because it's a Honda doesn't mean that you're not gonna get issues at all. It's just part of the game and part of the car. Try to take somebody that may know a little bit about cars, and hopefully there's no leaks and things like that. And if there is leaks and things like that, that can be fixed at a minimal. Check forums, do your research on some of the typical problems that you may encounter with specific cars. But remember, at 17 years old, you have so much to go. Have patience. Don't want to spend all your check wherever you're working just to buy bags or wheels. Really have patience. I think that's something that I would say, regardless of the car that you end up buying. Any car that you buy, it will give you some type of joy, even a minivan. Just take your time. But that's a good topic. I really like that topic in the sense of like the very first car. To some of us, we still own the first car. To some of you, you guys got rid of it for different reasons. it's a first car you're driving. Just be safe out there, and enjoy the what you can do to the car. Ultimately, you're the one driving the car. Ultimately, you're gonna be the one enjoying the car, and just know that we all have different budgets, and that's okay. As a 17-year-old young individual, don't go all out and try to buy the most expensive car. I know Freud bought the Evo when he was 18 or 19, something like that, and he was very honest, man. It's difficult. I had to work 3 jobs at one point just to pay it off. To some, you may say it actually worked out. He deserves it. But even Freud said, man, I don't know. Maybe looking back, maybe I would have done it a different way. But hey, he has his Evo 9 and he worked his butt off. So the same thing to you. If you're a 17, 18-year-old and you want that sports cars right off the bat, expect high insurance, high payment, and working a lot. Yeah, so thank you for providing that question for us, and for us to be able to kind of have a little conversation. For you, what's your number one car, your go-to car? If you were 17 years old again, what car would you go for now? With the go-to cars. But again, if you have like a friend like Gene who has Civic EFs, that guy's gonna be able to help you out, fix your issues, just put yourself in a supportive community where you can be able to find a car that may suit your needs. And remember, not every car is going to be for everybody. So if you go and you like the MR2, go get that MR2. If you want a Subaru Forester, go get that Subaru Forester. Ultimately, you're going to be driving the car, make it your own, and take your time when buying parts. Do not compare yourselves to bills like Mike's, because that's just too many years that he's been working on it. It didn't happen overnight. And we get to see that a lot with the builders that we're interviewing. They say, this took me a long time, and there was life that happened, priorities, family, and they sat back for many years. Now it's back. Take your time. Don't be impatient. We're all going to get there. We're all going through our phases. So, beautiful question. Thank you guys so much. Let me know, what car would you suggest to be the number one car? And do you still have your first car? I think that was the first question that I asked in the last episode. Lastly, I want to close it out by saying March 1st at San Dimas Park, from 11 to 3 p.m. Old School Honda will have its meet. Amazing cars come out. Isaac, the person who runs Old School Honda, has been nothing but amazing with us, and hence why the channel has grown. If you guys ever know Isaac, he likes to mess around. He's a very positive, energetic kind of guy, and he loves his DA, and his DA is just immaculate. He doesn't even drive it, but anyways. Just kind of want to give you guys March 1st, Old School Honda. And if you guys don't follow him, you guys can follow him at OLDSKOOLHONDA _. So Old School Honda, March 1st from 11 to 3 p.m. The address is 120 Villa Verde, San Dimas, California, 91773. Amazing cars come out. Great vibes. Hey, that's what the Honda community does. So thank you, all of you from the Honda community and non-Honda community, who has provided me with this sense of support. No way I could have done it without you guys. And in some later episodes, we'll definitely get into different companies and things like that. For instance, Rival Gabe, you guys may see his banner in the back. He's been nothing but supportive. Amazing S2000, and just like that. We continue to build. Remember, we go for the car, we stay for the person, and just be kind, be nice, and keep building.